Welcome back to the E-Forge Podcast, where overwhelmed operators become empowered leaders. We build businesses and ministries that last beyond us. I'm your host, Cory Long. Today's episode is different. It's not just about marketing, money, or scaling a company. It's about kingdom, discipleship, and legacy. My guest today is Matt Dabbs, a man who spent nearly 2 decades in traditional church ministry, then stepped out of the familiar to start something unconventional, a home church in his backyard with his wife, Missy. Since then, what began in a backyard has turned into a movement, a growing network of house churches, discipleship tools, and a mission to make church organic, accessible, and reproducible. We're going to talk about why you made the transition, what it looks like to support yourself while planning churches, how you can lead a home church without a seminary degree, of course, and how entrepreneurs and faith-led leaders can build kingdom impact outside the boxes the world gives us. This is for anyone who's ever felt like ministry, business, or faith shouldn't be separated, because God calls us to build legacy everywhere we walk. Let's dig in. Hey, Matt, thank you so much for being on the podcast today, man. I'm excited to do this.
Yeah, thank you, Cory. It's just really a privilege to be able to talk with you and add value to the people who are watching or listening. Just really blessed to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, man. I know you and I have had a lot of dealings in the past. We've done all kinds of things together at this point. Give people an idea, because you did full-time ministry for decades. And I know you kind of were like me. You got started in one area and kind of moved through. Like, tell people kind of where you come from, what your background is, and give people an idea of what you did for all those decades.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I grew up as a baby going to church and really loved being a part of a faith community as a kid, got into a vibrant youth group, just really loved being at church with church people as a kid. And so, I started off into college wanting to go into helping professions, and I thought that would be clinical and health psychology. So I worked on that really, really hard, went through Harding University in 3 years with a 4.0, got a full ride to get a PhD at University of Florida. And after September 11th, I was homesick watching the thing unfold. And I just thought, man, what am I doing? I don't know that what I'm doing is gonna last forever, I feel called to something. And I didn't even have good calling vocabulary, but that's what was going on at the time. And I withdrew from my program, kind of tossed the whole thing to the side, and went to seminary, got a master's of divinity, and started working part-time in ministry, youth ministry, bus ministry in Millington, Tennessee. And
that sounds just like me. Part-time.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
First job, man.
Yeah.
Making like this much money a year, trying to support the family.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Full-time grad students, and we were not only doing the youth ministry, young adult ministry, bus ministry, knocking doors on Saturday, and cleaning the church.
Oh my goodness.
Just to make sure the bills were, getting paid. Yeah. And got married during that time. And my wife was also a student in grad school. She's from Gainesville. We knew each other at Harding and reconnected when I went to UF, and then went to grad school, seminary kind of together. And she got a master's in counseling. So those were some really, really super lean times. I mean, I think my internship was $1,000 a month or something like that.
Yeah,
and
killing it.
It was like, having to work multiple things. And then we resigned from the internship with like 6 months left of the MDiv, Master's of Divinity. And then we're just working all kinds of stuff, just bootstrapping it, trying to get to graduation, working at Michael's, working reception. I mean, just whatever we could find. And, God's good. He provided. And that's been such a part of our story, like just some profound times of just God's provision. And we're just trying to be faithful and follow his lead. And then he's just taking care of us. We kind of call it God math at this point. I mean, not that we're irresponsible, but it's just like, we don't always know how the money ends up where it ends up. It's like, how is that account still where that doesn't make any sense, Have you ever been there?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We've been there too many times, I think. You and I were talking about this a minute ago. It's kind of interesting because people view entrepreneurship, anybody that's truly an entrepreneur has been through this. Man, there's been good times and lean times. There's been fat times where it's like, man, you feel like it's going to last forever. And then there's times when it's like, wait, what just happened? Can we make payroll this month? It's just a part of entrepreneurship. So
It is
yeah, now
certainly part. Yeah.
we've been in that in ministry, we've been that in our businesses. Yeah.
Well, God, so like when well, I'll take a couple steps and I'll tell one more story about that
Yeah.
if my mind will come back to it. Uh, we end up going to we were going to either go to Murfreesboro or go to St. Pete, Florida, and we had two churches that we're talking to go into full-time ministry, 2006. And we basically just said, we don't know which one, God, whichever one calls us first, we'll just go that one. And then
Yeah.
St. Pete called, and then Murfreesboro called, like right after that. And it was wonderful 8 years in St. Pete. We had a young adult ministry, started with zero, went to about 100 young adults.
Wow.
The elders had a vision to like refill the nursery and revitalize the church through young families. And so we helped that. And we still have such dear friends in St. Pete. Then I felt called to, preaching and kind of taking that next step up from associate ministry and young adult into to preaching. Moved out to California for a couple of years, Bakersfield. Did that preaching for a few years. My dad had terminal dementia that we didn't realize at the time. And so
Mm.
we came back to the South, to Alabama, to Auburn, preached at a church here in Auburn from 2016 to COVID. And kind of during the years right before that, God was kind of prepping me through discipleship. I had a real burden to make disciples, and I just literally just realized I have no idea how to make a disciple. I'm literally a professional minister trained at that time, like 15 years of experience. I have
Yeah.
no idea where to start. And so I literally just said, God, if you'll teach me how to make disciples, just send someone to show me. I'll do it. I'll do it for all my days. And I was at Pepperdine, a guy named Bobby Harrington, who runs
Yeah.
discipleship.org and Renew and all those things. He walked up to me at Pepperdine and said, do you know how to make disciples? God laid it on his heart. And I said, what? And he's like, I told him my prayer and he said, I'll show you. Let's do it. And he said, I'll pay you to learn it. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, I need some writing done. You're a good writer. Like,
Yeah.
so like, let me teach you discipleship and we can work together on some projects. And I was like, wow, like what an answer to prayer that not only would I learn it, that God would send someone literally to walk up to my face and ask me the question. I just couldn't believe it. And so I started making disciples in the traditional church context, but like my elders couldn't quite get their mind around it.
Yeah.
And so they kept calling me back to the traditional, calling me back, which is what they hired me to do.
Sure.
But like our alignment just kind of started like misaligning a bit with that, I feel like. And uh but God was prepping me for home church at that time. I had no
Yeah.
idea. Like, right. Because a lot of the DNA of our home church is like discipleship, fully relying on God, prayer as a strategy. So like Bobby got me lined up with a guy named Shadonke Johnson from Sierra Leone. They went from like 100 Christians to like 1 million Christians through disciple making, simple church reproduction. And
That's
so,
crazy.
I had no idea home church was on the horizon. I had no idea COVID was coming.
Yeah.
Um, but God was like laying that foundation for like what we're doing today, like in 2018. And man, just looking back, it's like, wow, like how faithful. And on the money side, the craziest thing happened to us because I gave my 30 days notice to my church on September 15th of 2020. We had been doing home church since March when church shut down. We just say, hey,
Yeah.
friends, come to the yard, come to the yard. We call it backyard church now. Like we'll sit far apart, we'll sing, we'll mask up, and we did that for a while and we're still doing it. The craziest thing, like we're just praying, like, God, do you want this? What is this? Is this a church? Is this just something temporary? And we had these unchurched people now coming. And we were like, if we quit this, these guys have no place to go. So what are we can't leave them. So I just resigned. I just said, okay, we're going to just do this. And I resigned. I gave 30 days notice, September 15th, last day of work, October 15th. And if you know taxes, you know what October 15th is.
Oh yeah.
So I was expecting to pay like $900. I already sent the check. So I've finished my taxes. I'm going to get $3,500 back. Okay. That's half of November. And my last half paycheck, because I worked half October, hits the same day as my tax refund, the last day of October. We're cash flowed through November. We've applied for 501c3. We're not fundraising. We're not telling a soul.
Yeah.
We get through November, December, January, and part of February with no paycheck, no fundraising, didn't touch our savings account.
Yeah, that doesn't make any logical sense.
It doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense.
Yeah.
And I can
That's
tell you,
God math.
it's
That's
just
God
God
math.
math, like government stimulus, child credits, some work I'd done I hadn't gotten paid that they finally paid me into the year. Like just this, it was literally
Yeah.
unsolicited checks in the mail. And I always say to people, like, God will take care of you. He may not do it just like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to promise anything, but like,
Yeah.
man, he's got you. So that just like really, you just can't forget that.
Yeah. I think the crazy part hearing that, I was having a conversation with somebody the other day. In scripture, so much was tied to agriculture. And, if the ag world was
Oh
hurting,
man.
everybody was hurting. And like people starved. Like we don't understand that. Like I don't think I really truly get I just don't think I understand it to that extent that there were famines and that this
Yeah.
is really the way it was. And that it was really, you had to rely on God. You went and you still tilled and you still planted and you still fertilized and you did all this stuff. You weeded and you did, and not knowing whether you would be able
Oh
to
man.
eat or not. And I think there are times in my life, I was sharing with you a minute ago, like there's even right now with everything that we have going on, I've got so many things going on that I'm still having to go till and plant and just, God, it's yours. Like if it's going to grow, it's because of you, not me. Like there's got to, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm
Mm,
here for the ride. Whatever happens, happens.
man.
And we just don't really have that in our society as much. Like there's
Yeah.
always a fallback. There's always a something, right? I don't know. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Man. So take the Bible journey from Egypt to Promised Land and now map that on our lives.
Yeah.
And wow, like, it gives me chills even like
Yeah.
because they were making bricks, but ultimately they were herds people
Yeah.
and they're coming to the Promised Land, which is agricultural. They
Yeah.
don't know that world. And God takes them through the wilderness to shape them as a people, to be his people, to get them ready to go into the Promised Land, which they weren't really ready for, and then the 40 years and all that. But my point is that like when you get into the Promised Land, and it's like, well, how do you plant crops? Well, if you ask a local person, they're going to be like, well, you pray to Baal and you pray to
Yeah.
Asherah, and then you
Yeah.
light this thing on
Yeah.
fire, and you do,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, we can't do that because we're
Nope.
gods. But eventually they do.
Yeah. Oh, they go through the cycle for
Yeah.
sure.
And I think and it's judges, right? And part of it is because of what you're saying was because you're so desperate for this to work
Yeah.
that some people are just going to try anything, and then
Anything.
now you're not following. Sometimes if it gets extreme, you're not following God, you're not being of faith in what you're doing. But one of the things we learned in home church was when you leave, and I'm not calling the traditional church Egypt exactly,
No, no, no.
but there's a system that you're used to
Sure.
and with authority structures and things, and then you kind of come out from that to the home church side. And Wolfgang Simpson in his little house church book says it's like the wilderness wandering, and he says God's preparing you to go into the land and this new freedom and all these things. But he says if you were paid on staff, he says it takes a year or two to get Egypt out of you, kind of a thing,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
get
yeah,
all
yeah,
that
yeah,
system. But he says,
yeah,
but if you're paid on staff, double the time, right? It's like,
yeah.
okay, well, we're about there. I think he's very wise.
Yeah, I think I was thinking back, there was a time when we did Young Life small groups for college kids. We were trying to figure out like where do we fit in. We were, everybody kind of knows me that we got out of full-time ministry to be able to do ministry without taking a paycheck. So that was the whole point of starting the business. At some point, we kind of looked up and went, we're just busy all the time. We're not really doing ministry the way we thought we would. And then we got involved with these college kids and doing these small groups. And so we had these kids out at our house every week. And it was kind of like what you're talking about. It was wild to watch. We started with just, 6, 7, 8 kids. And all of a sudden we have a household of kids that are coming out, and they're coming out at all times, day, night, weekends. It didn't matter to them, man. They function in a different time frame than I function. But yeah, it's kind of wild thinking through like the difference, because it is a mindset shift and how you do ministry and what it looks like. And just the amount of time, energy, effort, like you said, but again, a lot of people separate work, church, like they separate everything. Like well, this is this is my church life, this is my work life. And then they have here's my hobby life. That's a whole different life, right? Like we have all
Yes.
the. It's not the way it should be, man. It should. I've talked about that from the very first day we started our business. My business is a ministry, and if God decides to shut down Y Rock, okay. Like it's going to be painful, but wherever God wants to lead, we'll go. Like I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that faith journey, right? And so that part of the Great Commission, sometimes people translate it, and I haven't really dug into this to know if this is correct. I should do that because I think it's a cool point. Instead of like go and make disciples, sometimes I've heard people say you could kind of translate that as you go, make
as you go.
disciples. Yeah,
Yeah,
and again, I haven't verified that, but that makes an awful lot of
I've heard
sense.
that same thing through the years. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, makes a ton of sense, right? I mean, you look at what you guys are doing now. So y'all transitioned out of full time into home church, figured out a way to make enough money to at least survive for a little bit.
yeah.
And then you guys went through, y'all have continued that journey for the last however many years now.
Yeah, since COVID. So when we started this, we're like, okay, well, it's home church. We're not going to get paid what we got paid in traditional church, but
Yeah.
we do value some financial stability to kind of get our
Sure.
feet under us and not sink. And so we kind of talked to some friends and some local people and just said, hey, would you just support us as we kind of figure this thing out for a minute? And so I was looking at a pretty drastic pay cut. So then it was like, okay, well, how are we going to make up the difference? So I actually reached out to Army Reserve chaplaincy at first. And I went
Oh,
through this lengthy process with them. And I'm just praying through the whole thing. God, if you want me to do this, make it clear, open the door. Every single thing failed. Literally, the server literally lost my
that door shut.
60-page application.
That door shut.
Okay. Like a 60-page security application got lost in the digital
Oh,
ether. And I get on this phone call. They said, "Hey, we're going to interview you." And they didn't say it, but this was like the last swoop. I didn't even know it. And they blew through 3 dates. And then finally I'm on the phone with the colonel and he goes, "What questions do you have?" And I said, "Everything." I said, I'm about to be 42. I got to be out at 62. My timeline's short. Like no one will answer my questions about this. And he says, "Give me names." I go, "No, no, no, no." I go, "I think you're maybe a Christian." He's a chaplain. I go, "You're maybe a Christian." I'm a Christian. I'm like, I'm praying God makes it clear. Like
yeah, yeah,
this is mud. Like
yeah,
this is
yeah, yeah, yeah.
not clear. And you've blown through 3 calls. This has failed. This has failed. No one answered. And I said, this was a Friday. I said, "Give me to Monday." He said, "Well, just so you know, if you're on the call with me, this is UN. Like this is."
Mm.
He said, "I've never been on a call where this person's not in." And I said, "I didn't even know that." And he said, "Well, you were supposed to know that." And I go, "Okay, I think I know what I'm supposed to do. Is like not this." And so I bailed on that. And literally the day I bailed on that, my friend Bobby, who taught me discipleship, called me that afternoon. And I told him what happened. He said, "Just catch me up." Told him what I just had said no to that. And he said, "Well, do you want a job?" And I was like, "Oh, what are you thinking?" And he said, "Well, we need someone." He said, "You do YouTube and stuff, and we need someone who could interview the leading disciple makers around the world for YouTube."
Oh, what a horrible
And
job.
I was like, "Oh, okay, like what's the catch?"
Sign me up, man. Sign me up. Yeah,
And he's like, "Okay, what was the pay going to be?" And this and that and the other. And like, let's
yeah,
negotiate, talk. And that provided most of what I needed. And then I had like a little affiliate marketing and some other stuff that I've kind of have been able to grow that over time. But all the bills have worked out. We're in a good spot. And now we're at a place 5 years in where we've multiplied the home church local. We're helping other people, other places do it.
yeah,
And I was writing curriculum as a part-time thing for a couple of universities on discipleship, and I owned the rights to the curriculum. So I
yeah,
was at one point, I'm like, why am I not using this material I've worked so hard on? And all the feedback was like, this is great material. I was teaching it to some of the students. And I thought, man, I need to leverage these
yeah,
resources for the kingdom. And I got an audience, and I've had a blog since like '06 or '07, and 2 million views or something there. I've got a growing
yeah.
YouTube channel, and it's like, let's put these pieces together. And I love writing this stuff. So what if I could write home church curriculum to help people start, sustain, and reproduce everyday people, because seminary doesn't teach you this, and seminary is outrageously expensive, and
Yeah.
it's like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And I'm not against it. I have it. I could go
Sure.
to school the rest of my life.
Sure.
There's a place for it. But I feel like the landscape is shifting to more accessible, more affordable, and also at least bivocational, if not volunteer, because budgets are down, attendance is down, the ability of the local church, real estate prices are up,
Yeah.
right? Like the sustainability of reproducing the old in the box model is just diminishing. So I just feel like everyone's got a home or a backyard or a park.
Sure.
Let's teach the skills. Let's get going. And so now we have people from 18 nations and I think 27 states in the platform. Not all of them have started. Some are praying about it, but
But I love
well,
that.
we've
Like,
helped
how
people
cool
in
is that?
Canada,
Because
and
you just launched that, right? That's not that
uh,
old.
very slow rollout, maybe a year ago, just
That's what I
kind
was
of
about to say.
pecking
It hadn't
away
been
at it
long.
and developing it. Yeah. So
It's been since
it's,
you and I worked on the other materials we
oh
worked on.
yeah.
Like,
Oh
yeah,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's been very short amount of time. People don't realize, I don't, it always fascinates me because, and I know there's memes about this and stuff everywhere, but people think that like it's overnight success and all of a sudden it's, blah, blah, blah. People don't, people don't see
Oh
like the
man.
time it takes to really launch something, whether it's a business, ministry, nonprofit, it doesn't matter what it is. Like the amount of time that you have to really put into rolling something out, getting the information out, getting people excited, and then you're having to nurture that as it goes and help them grow. And then it as at some point it starts to kind of open up and it starts to do some of its own thing. But even then, people don't realize to scale a business takes a massive amount of effort,
Yeah.
resources,
Oh
time,
man.
attention.
Oh, thousands. It feels like thousands of hours if you were to
Yeah.
add.
Oh,
It has
easily.
to be I mean, on one, I would like to say it has to be a passion, but sometimes you just have to do what you have to do, you know?
Yeah.
Um, have you found one of the things I run into is like Christian people interfacing with this stuff? There's this expectation that like in church, everything's free. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then
Yeah.
it's like, man, yeah, but I gotta eat. Like
Yep.
you can't take my time
Yep.
and not expect some kind of cost to that. Like I can't
Yeah.
give away my time,
Yeah.
you know?
I have people that rail on me online because I don't give away my courses, my trainings. I have people that rail on me that I don't give away free marketing. It's all mindset, right? It's
Yeah.
all
Yeah. Yeah.
mindset issues. Like I don't know what they do for a living, but I've had people come to me before and they're like, well, you should just give that training away. And I'm like, well, what do you do for a living? And they're like, they tell me whatever it is. Let's say they're a plumber. I don't know, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, do you give your sort like, do you just go give your resources away and do you go do plumbing for free? Well, no, I wouldn't do. Well, yeah, same kind of way. This is how I make a living. This is what I do to
Yeah.
create and pay for food on my table, and this is how I pay for my family. And it fascinates me.
Absolutely.
You look at somebody like Paul in Scripture, and there's people that estimate that he was supporting 11, 12 people at a time with his little tent making business. Like these guys, they understood that they had to have finances, they had to have funding. Barnabas had money. Like we don't talk about this ever, but like
Yeah.
these guys had money. They had to have Jesus had somebody on his team that actually kept up with the money because he had
Right.
enough money to keep up with.
Right.
Like we don't talk about it, but it's just a part of it. You have to have resources. And so yeah, I yeah, sometimes it's a challenge because again, I get
But
hated
that's
on
just
all the
not who you're
time.
after. Yeah.
No, I get it. I understand what they're saying. I'll tell you what I did, and you may have done I don't know, maybe you've gone down this path before. When I very first started teaching what I teach online to create income, we started teaching how to do lead generation and how to create leads and how to build websites and all. I built a little course. It wasn't very big. It was enough for somebody to be able to go make a couple $1,000 a month, which I knew for most of the people that were following me, a couple $1,000 a month when they were doing ministry would change their world. That's a lot of money. And so I built this little course, and in my heart and in my mind, I was like, I'm going to go give it away for free. I'm going to
Hmm.
find all these ministers
Hmm.
that they are awesome and they're amazing, and they have
Yeah.
all these ministry families, and I'm going to
I
give it
can
away
tell
for
you how that turned
free.
out.
Yeah, and they're gonna go like kill it, and they're gonna make tons of money, and I'm gonna rah like I gave the course away for a couple of months. Nobody went through the course. Nobody like because as soon as you give anything away for free, you completely devalue the whole thing.
100%.
People don't see any value in it, and so I started charging for the course. As soon as I started charging for the course, guess what happened? People started having success. It's like, whoa, what in the world, right? And so it's fascinating to me how many people they'll come to you, but it's all a mind, it's a broken mindset thing.
Mindset issue, yeah. So I had that broken mindset issue 1,000%, and I'll tell on myself for a minute. I was on Twitter in this was probably like 2009 or 8 or 10 or somewhere back there, maybe 11. And I was following.
Was there even anybody on Twitter back then?
I don't know. I was following Donald Miller, and I saw this tweet from Donald Miller, and it said something about self-promotion. And here I am, a minister making $50,000 a year, whatever.
Yeah.
And I replied, and I said something about, well, did Abraham self-promote or something stupid like that? And then he came back at me and said something. And then the next thing I knew, he had written his blog was like really heavily followed at that time. Like
he wrote a whole blog about you, didn't he?
He did.
I love it.
I was like, oh no.
It's the reality, right? It's the reality of what you see. Like people don't understand that one is that's a scarcity mindset. It's a limited mindset, right? There's unlimited resources. He owns every cow.
That's right.
Let's talk about the cattle on it. And the crazy part, I mean, you used the initial entrepreneur that was worth, who knows what Abraham was really worth. Like the dude that dude was the original entrepreneur in the whole scripture, like in the Bible. Funny. That's funny. I love it. Yeah. But it's
you can go find that blog.
Well, but we have to
we I
think this is one of those things that we have to learn, right? We learn that I still get into scarcity mindset sometimes, and I'm like, oh no, how's this going to happen? How are we going to? Because we've gone through health struggles and we've gone through this, and I do the same.
Well, let's process that for a second, because part of it is a mindset, I think, of I want people to see me in a certain light.
Yeah.
And when I start talking about dollars and cents, it makes me look a certain way that I don't want to look.
Yeah.
That's part of it. The other part of it is it actually generous? Because I want to be a generous person, and a generous person would just give everything away. But it's not generous to give everything away. And what I do in my home church platform called Home Church Resources, there are people from overseas who have very little resources. They'll reach out to me, and and at first I said, oh, here's this, that. And I wouldn't open up the coaching call to them, but I would give them, here's the full course, here's da. And then I would look at the percentage done, 0, right?
0.
Even there.
Yeah.
And then what I finally started saying was, I would say, you can have this piece. And I'm not even doing this anymore, but this was the second step was you can have this piece for like 3 months or something. If I check it's at 0, I'm going to take it away.
Yeah.
If you're not going to use it, it's just going to, but then I realized I got to think about that. I got to come back and spend time thinking about that. So that's not scalable, right? No. So, yeah.
I think the challenge for most of us, especially coming out of ministry background, anybody that comes into our courses and has been into my training stuff, they come out of a ministry background and one is they want to go do everything for cheap or free because they value based on what's in their wallet. So they look at their wallet and they go, well, I wouldn't pay that for this. So why would anybody else pay for that? Right. Yeah. Whereas there are people, like take a website, for instance, there are people that won't pay $200 for a website. And there are people that won't touch a website for $100,000. It's the same website. It's not like it's any, there's differences in the website itself and what it'll do and functionality and all. I get all that, but it's still just a website. So it's fascinating to me as you look at, we just helped a client. We've got a new client that just signed on with us with WireRock. And I look at it and I think it's a mindset thing of they had no problem paying me this big fee for what they're doing because they know one client pays back everything for almost a whole year. Like
Yeah.
one client's all it's going to
Yeah.
take. But
Yeah.
it takes that mindset shift. So when students first come in, they price things based on what they can afford instead of
Yes.
what the market can handle
What's the
or what
ROI?
really needs to be done for their time and energy.
Yeah.
Like we all have a buyback time. Dan Martell's book, Buy Back Your Time, is a great book talking about how we need to value our time. That's the one thing we can't get back.
Yeah. 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 That the one thing I've learned the last couple of years is time and energy, because what I give my energy to is going to grow. Or so if I'm giving my energy in counterproductive ways, man,
Yep. Yep.
it's not
Yep.
life-giving. It doesn't advance my mission, right? And the hard part, one of the hard parts is like sometimes you got to wear so many hats to make it work, but then it feels like it dilutes your effectiveness, right? And
Yep.
so you got to make some hard decisions. Can you monetize the thing that you feel most called to? And there's routes to all of that. I mean, it could be a
Sure.
501(c)(3) route, and
Sure.
now you can monetize that in a way that maybe you would struggle to produce the revenue, but someone believes in you or the vision, and those sorts of, like, that can work. But it gets really hard. I mean, especially if you're wearing more than 3 or 4 hats, it's
So
pretty
a
tough.
couple of things I think that we end up doing. So in eForge, we talk about this a lot in my coaching program. We talk about how we have to, at some point we have to look at things, and the difference between somebody that's highly successful and somebody that's not isn't what they say yes to. It's what they say no to.
No, too. Yeah.
Because we get caught up every day in stuff that we feel like we have to do, whether we have to do it or not. Like we do, there's so many things that we do every day that we think, oh man, if I stop doing this, then the world's just going to come crumbling around, get like all of it's just going to come crumbling down, right? The reality is we could stop doing probably 70, 80% of what we do and nothing would change. And I think it's this weird reality that kind of hits us at some point, that when we start saying no to these, and many of these things are great things, right? That's the thing about ministry work, is it's all great things. These are all great people that want our attention. These are all great people that want to learn, get educated. I don't know, whatever it is, right? But at some point we have to be able to say no, and we have to be able to protect the time. And what you just said, we only have a bucket that's so full, and there's decision fatigue is a real thing. You can only make so many decisions every day. You can only do so many things every day. So yeah,
Yes.
like it's a have to. So out of curiosity, what are you spending your time on now? Like, so it sounds like you went through this phase of shifting from, I know that you have your online training now where you're teaching discipleship and all of that. Are you still working with Bobby and them? Which they
No.
had me come in and do some consulting for them the other day on
Oh,
their
cool.
magazine, because AI search is changing everything, man, and it's affected their magazine. It's affected their online
Oh,
resources.
yeah. 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 They do pretty good work on trying to make sure they're ahead of the curve or with the
Yeah,
curve, probably more than most. And they do such good work. And I really hated resigning from that, because I absolutely love the people and I love the work. And it was just a dream job for me to connect with some really wonderful people that I could have maybe never connected with otherwise. Right. So that was just, sometimes I think about that parable where it's like the guy starts forgiving all the debts, so
yeah,
that later on he can reconnect. Is like, I got some great connections,
yeah,
Thank you. So I resigned from that. And part of that was because I was feeling like, for lack of a better way of saying it, I was really serving someone else's vision.
oh yeah,
Right. And that's okay to a point. I would say it like, the fact that I was praying so hard about Army Reserve chaplaincy and said no to it, and then 2 hours later, Bobby calls me with this thing.
yeah,
This is one of those things I'd like to unpack a little bit. That to me is clearly from God.
yeah,
And where I get stuck is when God says yes and opens a door, man, it's clear to walk through that door sometimes
sometimes,
when it's
yeah,
that clear,
yeah,
an answer to prayer and the timing. The hard part is, when do you say no to it? When it was a God thing, it was God sent. Man, how and when do you pull the plug? And for me, it was when I realized that it's a good thing that I'm doing, but it's not the best thing that I could be doing. It's not, I'm missing opportunity to advance my vision because I'm spending so much time advancing this vision that I'm misaligned. Like
Yeah.
my time and my priorities are not aligning with my vision,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
now I've got to figure out
Clarity's
how to
key,
monetize.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
How
Yeah.
do you, so as people are listening to this, I think this would be really good because you're unpacking this in a good way. How do you get clear? What are
How do
ways and
you
strategies that you've used to get clear?
okay, so I would say
I know
that,
that's a deep question, by the way. I know it's not easy.
yeah. Well, let me go back to Egypt, Promised Land, and wilderness.
Yeah.
Wilderness is not clear.
Right.
By definition, it is not a clear place. You do not know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah. Circle it around, man. Just,
Man,
yeah.
but that's where identity formation happens.
Yeah.
Because when you're on easy street and you're on salary and you budgeted and the money's always as much as you need and blah blah blah, like that's peaceful. Like I'm not down in it because
Yeah.
that there's some really goodness to that when you're in that spot that I think is a blessing. However, when we're not challenged, we can stagnate and we can end up comfortably stuck,
Oh, yeah.
right? So,
Yeah. Where did
so
the Egyptians want to run back to? I mean,
the,
where did the
the
people want to run
Hebrews, yeah,
back to? They wanted to run
yeah,
back to
that's
the
what they
Egyptians.
knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know
Yeah.
we know
They're
that
like, let's
place.
go build some bricks. We at least had food and a house and warm bed. And
Yeah, do you
yeah.
really want to do that? Seems good over here. So I think that the wilderness is the place that you gain the clarity because you have to come to grips with who God is. You have to rely on him
Yeah.
for your daily bread, manna and quail. The cool thing about when we were getting the money in the mail, once our 501c3 got approved and we fundraised and we got $40,000 in the bank and some cushion, all the checks dried up. Like
Yeah.
government stimulus stopped, blah, blah, blah. It was just like, I felt like manna and quail. It was like
Yeah.
we needed it. It came. We didn't need it. It stopped. It was just incredible. So I feel like those 4 months was like, do you really believe this? Do you really trust this? Is this really going to happen? And it happened.
Yeah.
And then you're like, man, okay. So prayer, like Shadon K. Johnson would say to Sierra Leone, my friend from Sierra Leone, he says prayer is strategy. Like, and there's more to strategy than that, but
Oh,
like
for sure.
that is the core. How do you have clarity if you haven't asked God about it, right? Like, because when I pray big and bold and specific, then when big, bold, specific things happen, then I know that's God. If I just pray wimpy little vague thingies that I'm not really sure anyway if it's going to happen, is going to whatever, that could be anything. Like
Yeah.
I could say anything did that, right?
Yeah.
But man, when you start praying just so much more specifically, I think the specific bold prayer for the impossible stuff, you can only pray that so long before you start acting like it also, right? So now I'm like living into it because I really believe God's going to do this. And that actually also changes the outcome to a better outcome, right?
I agree.
Because so I feel like if I'm not praying big and bold, then I'm also not acting big and bold. And the other thing I learned was that if I don't, um, if I don't live into my vision, I don't respect myself well
Mm.
because I'm not living into my values and my priorities. And when I don't live into my values and priorities, and I don't respect myself well, I don't like who I see in the mirror.
Yeah.
And I can only do that for so long. And what I found was when my vision wasn't clear, my purpose wasn't clear, and I was kind of floundering there for a bit, it was pretty depressing, I think, as a
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
because for a lot of reasons. But what one of the telltale signs for me was I found myself speaking very negatively to myself. It wasn't just like that was a bad thing that happened. It was like you're an idiot.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And one day I realized, Matt, you would never let another man say that to you. Why are you saying that to yourself? And then I realized it was because I didn't respect myself, was the only way I could allow myself to say that to myself. And that was when I made a turn. I said, I can't live like that. I cannot live in a way that I can speak to myself so disrespectfully. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm not taking the risk.
Yeah.
You know what? I would rather fail at taking the risk and be able to look myself in the mirror, continue on the way I'm going.
Yeah. The growth that you're going to have through that. I mean, you use your story, for instance. Caleb and Joshua showed them a way.
Yeah.
They chose no, but they showed them a way, right?
Yeah.
And they still wanted to go travel around and get more clarity, I guess.
Right.
They did, but sometimes the way that even is clear is scary. It was still scary when they crossed over. They still had to go to war. They still had to
Oh,
go
yeah,
battle.
for
They still
sure.
had to go do the thing. So it's fascinating to kind of watch. Sometimes timing.
Hmm.
Sometimes we aren't willing to do what it takes. I was reading a guy that I follow this morning. I've made this comment to my eForge group quite a few times about what are
Hmm.
you willing to do to get what you want? Because many of us talk a big game, and then when it comes down to actually pulling the trigger and taking the risk and doing the thing, it's a very different thing. He was up at 3:30 this morning working on his business because his daughter's sick and he needs to be able to pay for her treatments and the things that
Oh.
she needs. And he's
Hmm.
like, look, I'm going to do whatever I have to do in this season to be able to take
Right.
care of my kiddo. And that's just what I'm going to do. And so
Yeah.
if you want to be a part of that, great. If you don't, great. Like I'm going to go be a part, I'm going to go do the thing that I need to do for my kid. And
Well,
I think that's what I think for me, sometimes that fear paralyzes me, or it just like I let it distract me
yeah.
or whatever. And then I lose focus for a little bit. And then I come back and I have clarity, and all of a sudden things grow. And
Yeah.
then I lose focus for a little bit because maybe I get comfortable, like you said, or I don't know, whatever, right? And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden I lose focus again for a little bit, and it kind of wanes off, and it's wild how it works.
Mm.
Church works the same way, nonprofits work the same way. Like you and I both have ran nonprofits. Like it works no different, man. It's just the way human nature is. You can see it all through Israel, right? The
Oh, for
the
sure.
flow, man.
It speaks to the value of what you're doing because I've found that when I'm in those times, I need someone who's been further down the road than me
Yeah,
to give me that perspective and to give me the courage
yeah,
to do the hard thing. So, like, Shadonke Johnson was one for me. When I heard his faith stories, when I literally heard him talking about being in front of a firing squad and about to be
yeah.
shot for his faith, and then converting the captain who was in charge of the guys with the guns.
That's mind blowing. Yeah,
There's a long story there, but it was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
God can do anything. And then when
yeah,
I realized God could do anything, I mean, my wife and I the same night had dreams that came true the next day. And I mean, these things just start happening that you're like, I knew God could do anything, but I didn't really think he would.
yeah,
And now it's like, I know he does. And
yeah,
then it's like, once you know he does. But my point is that like Shadonke helped me not only have language for things, but like really not be hypothetical about it and then really be able to jump and take a risk. And then I think like for the coaching, like for me coaching these home church leaders, for you coaching entrepreneurs and these sorts of things, like they need that perspective that you're offering to be able to be like, yeah, I can take that step. I'm not crazy.
right.
It's okay.
Yeah,
It's gonna be hard, but it's doable.
yeah. I think we all have moments, and we have to, like what you just talked about. We have to grow into that person, right? We have to grow into the person that God's going to trust with whatever it is, whether it's that discipleship moment, or whether it's that resource, whether it's that team, whether it's that home church, whether it doesn't matter what it is, like the business. We have to grow into the person that God's going to trust with whatever it is, and be able to say yes at that moment when it's going to be scary. Like it's just, I
Yep.
have a pretty high fear and tolerance and like failure tolerance. I don't, for the most part, like I can go after something, and my wife not so much. So I have to temper my tolerance with her tolerance, to make sure like
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I'm not on this journey by myself. I'm on this
That's right.
journey with her too.
That's right.
And so I think we have to make sure of that. Yeah.
Well, I had a mentor give me a phrase that really helped me because this was right before we launched the home church. I think I was at a conference, maybe 2018, and I ran into somebody. I mean, not really a mentor, but someone further down the road than me who I respect. I didn't really know him very well. And we were sitting down talking and I was explaining how I was kind of feeling confused and this and that and the other. And, and he said, "You are right on schedule."
Mm, yeah.
And I was like, really? Really? Like you're
I don't
65,
feel
you're
like it.
40. Doesn't feel like I'm on schedule. He's like, no, you were right on schedule. And I was like, man, that was a needed word for the day. It's going to be all right. Keep pressing, but man, I guess you could have got there quicker, but you wouldn't have been ready for it or something.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
okay, here we are.
I think we see that though. I mean, you take any lottery winner that gets a bunch of money.
Oh,
The amount of lottery winners that end up going bankrupt within
yeah,
3 to 5 years is like it's almost all of them.
unbelievable.
Almost all of them. Not just them, but like you take any professional athlete that gets out of what they've done for years, most of them are broke within 5 to 7 years.
That's crazy.
Like it's not, it's they never became the person to be able to handle the thing. When we landed the $45,000 a month client, it changed our lives drastically. And I don't know that I was really ready for any of that then. I don't think I understood really what was happening at the time. Here we
Yeah.
went from 3 or 4 employees to 18 within months, and it changed our whole life, and then we launched the training program, and we had students around the world. I would literally walk into churches and people would come up and sit down next to me and go, "Are you Cory Long?" I'm like, "Yeah, why?" And because they had seen ads, because we were running millions of dollars in ads at that point. And it's a very interesting thing watching the ebbs and flows of business.
Hmm.
And launching a ministry is we think we have to be poor to do ministry, which is not true. And we have these preconceived ideas of what ministry should look like. So house church is very different, looks very different than the other types of. So for somebody that's out there and they're listening to this and maybe they're like, look, I'd be curious about house church. Like maybe that's something that God's called them to. Like what are the steps? Like what's that process look like?
Yeah, well, I think that God has always been so good at using ordinary people. And we have this idea of what church is. That's our culture. It's very
Yeah.
professionalized.
Yeah.
Just like my car needs a mechanic,
Yeah.
my faith needs a preacher, a pastor, whatever. It's like
Mm-hmm.
Acts 8, Acts 8 was big for us in COVID because it's a scattering. COVID felt like a scattering of church. And then Acts 8 is when there's persecution, Stephen's
Yep.
stoned, and then they
Yep.
scatter out from Jerusalem. That's when the church left the building, kind of. And it was like, and it literally says in there, all but the apostles left. And I'm like, well, the big dogs stayed home, but the everyday guys went out and spread the message. And it said they spread the word of God with them wherever they went, and there was great joy. And I'm like, man, let's reclaim that. Let's reclaim a little Acts 4:12. These are everyday, ordinary people. Those were the apostles. These are just fishermen, right?
Yeah.
Galilean fishermen. They probably had an accent, right? That's probably, they could just hear them talking about, oh, Galilean fisherman. He's a hick,
Yeah.
So I'm looking at it going, man, we could scale this thing so well for people who, and I really hate playing off of the message of like, oh, if you're really tired of the way church is and all, like, I don't like that message at all.
Yeah. That's not what this is about.
That's not what this is about. I don't want angry, bitter people trying to start something. It will not be healthy.
Nope.
But if you feel a call to something very authentic, genuine, intimate, transformational, people who gather in the name of Christ, home church is really a wonderful thing. It's been a game changer for us. It's been a game changer for our kids. So one of the things that we do is when we start home churches is we don't start a home church first. We basically, because we kind of stair step things. So what we'll do is we'll say, like, let's say I'm out in a new neighborhood and I'm starting a home church in this neighborhood and I'm meeting new people. I won't say to them, hey, we have a home church in apartment 116, because they'll be like, what? Okay, home church? Is this a cult? There's just too much there. So we'll just say, hey, and we're often in public places like a fire pit at the front of the neighborhood, places people can see and travel past. So there's like a familiarity, there's a visual nature to it. And that's easier in warm places, kind of, we're fairly warmish here in Auburn. So what we do, though, is we start a time of encouragement, Bible study, and prayer. And we just say, hey, and outside makes it easy and easy out, because if I go in your home and I've never been there, I don't know anybody, it's really awkward and weird. And if something weird gets said, I don't know how I'm going to get out without being weird. But if I meet at a fire pit out somewhere in a neighborhood or something, it's like I can just literally run away any
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
get
Yeah.
scared, right? So it's very non-threatening. It doesn't sound like a cult. And it's so simple that like even if you've never done anything like that, you've seen a Bible study, you've prayed
Sure.
before, like you can get together with a few people and open a Bible and read some scripture and talk about it and pray. It's just very simple. And then what we do is we do that for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, kind of let this thing gel, get some camaraderie, get some rapport, get some trust. And then at some point we really have basically a study just to say, what is a church?
Sure.
And a church, it's not a building. A church isn't a head pastor. A church is a gathering of people in the name of Jesus to do some specific things and to be a specific kind of people.
Yeah.
And so then we'll just say, well, what makes this not that? And we'll go, well, maybe we don't sing or maybe we don't take communion or this, that. It's like, well, what if we did? I mean, does that work? And somebody will go, well, I come here because it's not a church. And you'll go, well, I can promise you that all the things you love about this will stay exactly as they are. It'll only get
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
The things that you're upset about are not Bible church things. They're what church has turned into in some spots, right? Like
Yeah.
this is not a church problem. This is a people problem. And we're not going to do that. So we kind of build that trust. But my point, part of this is that some people are like, I can't start a church. I don't have this. I don't have that. You can start a time of study, prayer, and encouragement and just
Sure.
see if God gels that into a church. And if he doesn't, just keep doing what you're doing. But if he does, and you've got a beautiful thing, right? But maybe it does turn into something a little more. And the beautiful thing about it is all those people who gather then have the DNA, the new paradigm of simple, that even if they leave, they can start something like that.
Yeah.
Right. And now we can reproduce without real estate, salaries. And one of the things that opened my eyes was I was in Canada last summer speaking, and the president of the board of this Christian college in Canada, he and I were together a lot for a few days, and he said, the chairman of the board, he said, if we were going to plant a traditional church in Toronto, we would have to raise like $5 million to buy the land and the
Yeah.
building at least, and we have to pay someone $200,000 a year to live in Toronto if they had a family of four.
Yeah.
And our Canadian churches are small. They don't have the means. We have no scalability of the
That's a lot of
legacy church
infrastructure.
model. And I'm like, well, how are you going to get churches in Toronto? He's like, we knew the answer. It's called home church.
Yeah.
That's free.
Yeah.
But the issue is people, I don't try to overcomplicate it, but it really does help to get some support, to get some prayer partners, to get a little bit of education under your belt. Not complicated,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but like, how do you facilitate a discussion? How do you deal with difficult people? How do you know uh, fasting and prayer rhythms, prayer walking? Like, how do you meet? It's like generating leads almost, right? It's like, how
Yeah.
do you
Yeah.
meet
Yeah.
new
Yeah.
people? How do you
Yeah.
how do you
Yeah.
find the people that you're on the mission for? Because people don't know how to do it. How do you share the gospel? How do you share your testimony? People don't know how to do that. It's like these just simple skills. I'm just teaching people simple skills to make an impact. Everyday people. I'm not looking for the professionals, because professional seminary trained people is not scalable,
Yeah.
right? $100,000, 4 years, not scalable. And then you learn a bunch of stuff you're not going to use in the trenches,
Yeah.
right? So, and I'm not against the seminary. There's a place for it, but we need more people. We need more Luke 10:2 harvest field workers.
Yeah, this is just a different option for those that feel
Yeah.
called to it for sure. So if they
Yeah.
want to find you or find out about you, what is the easiest way for them to do that?
Yeah. Homechurchresources.org. That'll
Okay.
get you in. There's a little webinar. They'll show you the platform, introduce you to it, give you some a little email and some information on how to get started if you want to try it out, and how to contact me. And I would love to be in touch. I'm looking for all 50 states. I'm looking for the world. I mean, I'm just praying for partners. I'm praying for the people, the workers.
Yeah, I love it.
Jesus said, pray for the workers. I mean, he literally said, pray this.
Yeah.
He said, ask the Lord of the harvest to send workers. But not many
Yeah.
things. He literally said, make sure you pray for that. So I'm like, okay, I need to be praying for that. Yeah, I'll pray for that.
I think the great part about all of that is it is ripe for the harvest. There are a lot of people seeking answers right now. Anytime there's struggle, anytime there's unrest, anytime there's any of those things, people are looking for an answer. And we've had the answer. The answer hasn't changed. The answer is the same as it was a few thousand years ago. It's still the same today. Like, this is not complicated stuff. And yet we make it complicated sometimes. And you and I both worked in the traditional church structure. We've both worked, like, even that little Young Life group, man, we did that for a couple of years. Those kids, I'm still super tight with all those kids that came through there. Some of them still contact us to this day about stuff that's happening in their lives, because we still went to church with them, but that was different. This was like super intimate, hands-on, sitting in the room, making s'mores, eating food, right? Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I would also, to your point, Home Church Resources also teaches discipleship.
Yeah.
So, like, if you want to learn a simple process for making disciples, and you're like, I don't know about the home church thing, but I want that, that's in there. And we have a little small monthly fee. It's just $20 a month.
Yeah.
I think that's a giveaway almost, but I find that if somebody doesn't pay something, they just don't take it serious. So I have to have something on there, and man, hop in there for a month, learn that skill and go do it. And man, we'll just see lives changed, but we need people who know how to do that.
Matt, thank you for being honest, raw, transparent about your journey, your calling, and your mission. For anyone listening right now, if you're tired of just that kind of status quo, if that's where you feel like you're at, if you believe God wants more than just maybe programs or pews, you've been called to something different, not because you're, like he said earlier, not because you're upset about this, but because you feel called to do something different, more intimate setting. Right. Maybe it's time to consider a different path. Maybe it's time to carry church in your own home, in your own backyard, build disciples in your street, just like he said. Maybe it's maybe it's having something right out in your front yard. Be a part of this movement rather than just in a building. If you want to connect with Matt, check out homechurchresource.org. We'll have it in the description of whatever you're watching or listening to this on. You'll find training tools, community, and teaching. I know Matt is probably one of the most genuine, authentic, real guys that I know, and I've loved getting to know him through the years. If this episode impacted you, subscribe, leave a review, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Maybe you know someone that you've been talking to and they're like, man, I would love to learn more about home. Great. Send this episode to them. Until next time, stay faithful, stay focused, keep building what lasts. This is The Forge, where leaders are made and legacies are built.